Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Eric Nieves, Client Account Manager here with Center Technologies. With specialized expertise in Microsoft Dynamics, we are an IT service provider that delivers technology solutions to meet each business's unique challenges, working as an extension of their team to monitor, maintain, and improve their IT systems. In today's webinar, we're actually going to be presenting with eOne Solutions, and we're going to be talking a little bit about one of their particular solutions that they offer. It's called Popdock. And going over to my next slide, just sharing a couple of the presenters that you'll be hearing from today. Steve Anderson, Architect for Business Intelligence here with Center Technologies. Cameron Hagstrom, Partner Development Manager over with eOne Solutions, as well as Tyler Epping, Popdock Evangelist. Just want to show a quick slide of what Center Technologies delivers to our customers and our clients every day. Again, modern IT services for small businesses. We typically put everything into 5 main categories: managed services, cloud solutions, cybersecurity protection, IT consulting and delivery, as well as business intelligence. Typically for business intelligence, with Center Technologies, that does encompass Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, and that will be the main focus of today's webinar presentation. With Center Technologies, 3 main categories of what you can always count on for us to deliver, starting with an enterprise experience, people, process, technology that scales to our customers' cybersecurity and operations needs. Personalized service, we really get to know our customers' business and people that work every day in the company for a true partnership experience. And local touch. Might not always have to be in person, visiting on site, but we do like to have as much in-person collaboration as possible, whether it be with on-site meetings or, as we're doing today, via Microsoft Teams meeting. I'll actually turn it over to Steve Anderson, who is our, again, solutions architect with the business intelligence team here with Center. He'll introduce the rest of the eOne Solutions team, who will help with providing IT solutions for our customers' needs. Steve, I will turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody, for joining. So I just wanted to spend a moment here to talk about our experience with eOne. We've worked with them over many years, back in the days where we were just working with them with Great Plains. And so we have a lot of experience with their integration tools, with the Smart List Builder tools, other tools. So it's always been a good partnership working with them. In my role, where I'm helping customers decide, what's the right fit, what's the best solution. A lot of the time now is being spent on how do we get from Great Plains to Business Central. And one of the main questions is, what happens to my Great Plains data? Can I get some of that over to Business Central? If I do, how can I see it? So some of the things that has been helping us as far as helping customers make that move is the tools that we're going to see here in a minute from eOne that help us consume that data, see that data, and get it moved over very efficiently. Really nice tool to be able to see that data and archive it. And so it's been a big plus for us. And even if you're not moving from GP, these are just tools that enhance the experience with Business Central beyond what's out of the box. So very excited to kind of hear this, but it's been a great solution for us. And so here we go. I'll turn it over to Cameron.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve and Eric. Give me 1 second while I share my screen. Yeah, thank you for having us today. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar today. My name is Cameron Hagstrom. I'm joined by Tyler Epping. We're part of eOne Solutions. And today, our session is going to be about how eOne can help you get the most out of your data using our tool Popdock. So whether you're staying on GP for the foreseeable future, you're already on Business Central, you're kind of somewhere in between, there's one challenge that everyone's going to face, and that is, how do I access my data and how do I connect to it across systems? That's where eOne comes in, and our platform is going to help you do 3 different things. Integrate data, connecting to Great Plains, connecting to Business Central, or any of your other systems with the rest of your business applications. Migrating data, moving that legacy systems to the cloud when that time is right, without losing access to any of your history, and then reporting on data, making it easy for everyone in your organization to answer their own questions with data from multiple systems. And at the center of all that is 2 central products. We have Smart Connect and we have Popdock. Smart Connect is for when you need to move data between systems. This is a very traditional integration tool. For example, syncing customers between your ERP and your CRM, or maybe bringing in e-commerce orders into your ERP. Popdock is for when you need to share data. Maybe you want to see GP invoices inside of Business Central. Maybe you want to run a report that combines GP data with CRM data. Maybe you want to empower an end user who doesn't have access to your ERP data, but needs that data to do their job a little bit better, a little bit smarter. This is going to be a Popdock focused webinar, so we're going to dig into Popdock and what it does best, which is reporting and visibility across all of your systems. Doesn't matter if you're on GP or BC or, in tandem using both of them. This idea of sharing that data is what we call virtual integration. Instead of moving every piece of data, Popdock's going to let you access that data and report on it in real time. Traditionally, when we discuss integration, it meant you had to physically move or copy that data from one system to another. But virtual integration is going to be a little bit different. Instead of moving that data, Popdock's going to give you real-time access to it right where you need it. You can kind of think of it in this way of your data is going to stay right where it is, in Great Plains, in Business Central, somewhere else. And Popdock's going to connect to it and show it wherever your users work. So you get that same visibility as if it were migrated, but without that cost and that delay and that duplication. At its core, Popdock's just a really powerful end user query tool. If you've used Smart List Builder for GP, you kind of know the concept already. It's going to take that and it's going to make that concept available across all of your platforms. Popdock's going to also help you answer a couple simple questions. What data do I want to see? Maybe that's GP history, maybe that's BC transactions, maybe that's CRM opportunities. And then from there, you get to choose the fields, the filters, and the details that matter to you so you can see exactly what you want to see. The next question is, what do I want to do with that data? So once you've built your list and you know what you want to see, you can merge it with other lists, you can export it, you can share it with different teams, and depending on what you're connecting to, you can push it into another system as well. And then the final question is, where do I want to see it? And this is a really big one. It's, do I want to see my GP history inside of Business Central? Do I want to surface BC data in my CRM? Maybe I want to share it and see it in Excel or in Teams. Popdock's going to let you put that information right where your users are already working and where they want to work with the data. And then kind of finally, for those of you that are planning a move to Business Central, what to do with my historical data can be kind of a scary question, but with eOne Solutions, with Popdock, you don't have to make a scary decision anymore. You can migrate that master data into Business Central as you already would. And then with Popdock, we can back up all your GP history to a secure data lake, and then we can use Popdock to surface that GP history right inside of Business Central. If you're staying on GP for now, that's also not a problem. Popdock's still going to be that smart list builder for everything. So it's going to give you that reporting today, and it will set you up for the future when you are ready to make that move. Either way, you're going to get faster projects, you're going to get lower costs, and you're going to have more visibility into the data that you want to see. And with that, I will hand it off to Tyler, and he will show you how the tool works.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam. All right, let me take over here and jump into it. So yeah, I'm going to kind of take you through Popdock. I really want to focus on what the end user experience would look like if you're going to potentially use Popdock inside of Business Central. We'll obviously touch on where we play with when it comes to historical data as well. If you are evaluating that move from an on-premise solution, whether that's Dynamics GP or another on-premise ERP, and moving to Business Central, Popdock is a very powerful player in being able to grant historical data access once you've moved to BC. But just to kind of take it from the top, just to reiterate what Cam had said, Popdock really at its core is an end user driven ad hoc query tool. It's powered by an extremely powerful query engine. And we really simplify that. We really ask a couple different questions about data. What data do you want to see and where is it coming from? And then where do you want us to present that data? Now, for those of you that are coming from a Dynamics GP background, the reporting experience inside of Popdock is going to give you a lot of similarities to SmartList. The big difference, though, is it's no longer limited to having that SmartList type experience for just GP data. We can now apply that to any connector that we set up inside of Popdock. So what I'm showing you right now, this is our Popdock web application. This is really where we go to set everything up on the back end. And where Popdock all starts is by setting up connectors. We essentially set up a connector for any system that we want to query data from. So I'm going to primarily be focusing on Business Central as a connector here today, but I'll show you in a little bit that we have connectors for over 60 different solutions, plus a whole bunch of different generic ones that allow us to connect to really all of the applications that you're using within your business. Inside of all of our connectors, then, we do have a concept of lists, and lists are essentially your views of data. So in the context of a Business Central connector, when we set that up initially, there's about 55 or so lists that we give you pre-access to out of the box. So a lot of them will mimic a lot of the standard smart lists that you would have seen maybe in GP. So for those people that are making the move, we get you started with something that should be pretty familiar for you. But in addition to that, all of our connectors have custom list capability. So we can do things like join together data coming from different systems. We also have a query builder within our Business Central connector, which is really going to be that smart list builder experience, but for your BC data. So I'm going to actually work into Business Central to start off this demo. I'm going to show you really the end user experience of working with working with Popdock in BC, and then we'll work our way back into the web application, and I can kind of show you behind the scenes as well. So inside of Business Central, we have this Popdock tab in here. We have an extension out on Microsoft's App Source that you can install directly into your Business Central environment. What this is in Popdock terms is what we call a multiple list widget. So as the name suggests, it is a widget that contains multiple lists. When we set this up initially, we give you access to all of those pre-built queries that we would have for Business Central. So you would have, financial-based list, fixed assets, inventory, people, project, purchasing, sales, a lot of those common groups and modules within BC. But you can also see that we have a handful of groups that are pointing to data that does not necessarily live inside of Business Central. So we have a handful of lists, in this case, coming from a CRM system, or you can see we have the same thing from a Salesforce environment. And then we have a whole bunch of these migration groups where we've taken historical data from a lot of these historical ERPs. We're either connecting directly to that SQL server if you're planning on maintaining it. Otherwise, we've moved that data to a data lake and then are surfacing that historical data right inside of Business Central, so you can access it whenever you want to need, or whenever you need to see it. But I'm going to start with this purchase transactions list, and I really want to highlight the end user experience. The big thing that I like to point out with Popdock is it doesn't matter where we're querying the data from. Anytime that we access a list within a Popdock interface, the end user experience in terms of what you can do with the data is going to be the exact same. So things that you can do very easily and on the fly. You can go in here and you can do things like grab additional columns. So you can select which columns you'd want to bring in. Every time you see skipping there, Popdock's reaching into the data source that we're pulling data from to return the columns, the filters, the records that are being requested. So you can see after I added those columns, they got added to the end of my list. I can just as easily remove columns from my list. So if I wanted to drop those ones as well, you'll notice that they drop in real time. Everything inside of this interface is all drag and drop. So if I wanted to move document date to the front of my list, I could drag it on to the front. I can do things like grouping. So if I wanted to group my purchase transactions by vendor name, you'll notice whenever we do a grouping, all of the groups are expanded by default. We do have the ability to collapse them as well, so you can see more groups within your screen real estate. You'll notice that for any currency field, we would give subtotaling by group. And then from there, you can either drill into any of the individual groups or, again, go back up here and expand all of them to see the records that make up that group. And you can have multiple levels of these groupings. So if you wanted to group by vendor name, for instance, and then subgroup by document type, again, you're going to get that subtotaling at each grouping level. And then you can drill into the lowest grouping level to see the records that make up the groupings or subgroupings. Now, from this interface, filtering super simple. For those of you coming from GP, you might be used to the 4 filter limit with GP Smart List. That's something that's eliminated with Popdock. So you can hit this plus button as many times as you like to apply as many filters as you want. You can do things like mix your ands with your ors. So again, a lot of power in terms of being able to ask questions of your data. Now, oftentimes with the filter, you might be working around some sort of date field. Just to show you, we give you a ton of different operators to work with. So you might be using like a between if you wanted to filter on a date range. We do also have built-in relative date filters. So if you wanted to filter on yesterday's transactions or last year's transactions, you don't necessarily have to define that date range every single time. You could use the compare fields as an alternative option. But essentially, once you've gone through this modal and selected what filters you'd want to apply, you could hit save. And then Popdock, again, would do another query into the system to grab the data with those filters applied. From there, you can do things like favoriting your list. So this is going to be very similar to Smart List favorites in GP. Favoriting a list is essentially going to save your list configuration. So it'll save any columns you've added or removed, any filters you've applied, the order that you have your fields in, so that you can then go back and access that version of your list at any time. And then as you can see, you can also then share those favorites with other users or teams as well. Moving forward here with a couple other things that I like to point out. Exporting, for any accountants out there, export to Excel is obviously a crucial feature that is needed whenever you are working with data. So you can see we do give you the ability to export any list within a Popdock interface out to Excel. If you give me 1 second here, it's loading up. I'll just drag it on over. When that happens, it gives you an Excel table that you can work with. It does bring over any of the subtotaling as well as the formulas. So again, for people that prefer working with their data in Excel, it's very easy to get any list out here. We do have a couple other different ways of getting data out to Excel. One of them that I do like pointing out is that we do have an Excel add-in. What this would allow an end user to do is they could log into their Popdock account, and then any list of data that they've been given access to from a couple of drop-down menus, they could select the connector it's coming from and then the list they'd want to see, and they could actually populate it right into an Excel sheet without having to export it from another Popdock interface. So another common way of getting data out to Excel for the people that work there. Now, if you have multiple companies that you're working with inside of Business Central, or potentially you have multiple GP companies, with a couple of mouse clicks here, we can make any of these lists a multi-company list. So you'll notice in my example here, I have 2 different companies. I selected that additional EU company, and then I just tabbed off. What Popdock's now doing is it's now going to re-query that purchase transactions list for that additional company. So when it returns, you'll notice a new company field got added, and it just basically tells us what company these transactions are coming from. So if I scroll down further into my page, you'll notice that there's a break, and towards the bottom there, I'm showing transactions from my EU company, which weren't shown on the original view of the list. So very easy to make a list, a multi-company list, if you do have multiple companies within your environment. The last thing that I want to highlight on this first example is a concept we call details. Details allow us to show related information. So you'll notice at the bottom of this list, I have two different carets. If I select this lines one and then select a record within my main list, what it's showing me now are the lines that are tied to this specific document number. So anytime that there's a relationship within your data, we can tie that data together, really present it within a single interface so that you aren't having to jump to multiple lists or potentially multiple applications to get a complete view of the level of detail you might be looking for. So taking this a step further, like I had mentioned at the start, when we set this up initially, this widget or this extension initially inside of Business Central, it comes pre-populated with a bunch of default queries that you get access to out of the box connecting to your Business Central environment. But where Popdock gets really powerful is we can also, as we mentioned at the start, really connect to other solutions as well and display data where end users work. And one of the really common examples or scenarios that we see working with Popdock is historical data access. So you could be on Dynamics GP or another Dynamics on-prem solution, and you're making the move to Business Central, and you're wondering, how do I access my GP historical data once I've moved to Business Central? So that's a very common use case for Popdock. So as you can see, there's a couple of different options in that scenario. If you are planning on continuing to maintain the server that on-premise solution is on, we do have connectors for Dynamics GP, Nav, SL. We have a SQL connector where we can connect directly to the database. But oftentimes what we see people do is they don't want to continue maintaining that server once they've moved to Business Central in the cloud. So we actually have a tool that can help with that. That would be part of your Popdock subscription. It's called our Popdock Data Lake Upload tool. And the tool essentially would extract the data out of your on-premise solution. So in the case of GP, it can copy any of your smart lists, as well as tables and views. It would push it up into a data lake, which would provide you just really with cost-effective storage that sits in the cloud. And then with Popdock, we can connect to it. So you see a couple of different examples. Some of them are connecting directly to the server that GP is on, whereas this one, these lists have been archived to a data lake. And then we have the ability to really open up and display any of those historical smart lists or any of the tables or any views that you might have hitting your historical GP database once you've moved off into Business Central. So what I'm showing you now is just another example. And it's really taking that historical data concept one step further. So if you have a need for just displaying historical data as is, that's something that Popdock can certainly help with. But as I mentioned at the start, inside of all of our connectors, Popdock has what's called custom list ability, where we can create custom lists that might be joining together or merging together data that is coming from two different connectors. In migration scenarios, this is a really common use case where we see merge lists get used. And what a merge list is doing is it's essentially taking I guess in the case of a historical data scenario, it's taking a historical list and it's merging it with data from my new system. So in this case, Business Central. Now, whenever we create a merge list, one of the default columns that gets created is the source connector column. It just basically tells us where these what connectors these records are coming from. You'll notice that the whole first page, when I scroll down here, it's showing me data from this live Business Central environment. But if I jump over to the next page, we'll find where it shows the break. You'll notice at some point that changes, and I'm able to present historical data from a GP connector right alongside live Business Central data all within one view. So this is really kind of taking the presentation of the data one step further. If you have a need for being able to give more of a life-to-date view of your historical data with ongoing data inside of Business Central, then that's something that Popdock can help facilitate. In addition to that, like I had mentioned, if you just want to see historical data as is or just want to view Business Central data as is, then that's something that Popdock can help accomplish as well. Now, taking this one step further inside of Business Central, with Popdock, we have the ability to really embed these Popdock interfaces on any page inside of Business Central that displays a single entity. So I'm going to jump over to a customer card to just show you one more example here on a customer card for Aaron Fitz Electrical. When I scroll down on this page, what you'll see is there's this additional detail fast tab, and inside of it, what you're seeing is a Popdock interface. So this is called a single list widget in Popdock. So it's just showing me one list, whereas that other main extension that I was working off of was a multi-list view that allowed me to change between the view of data. This one's always going to show me the same list of whatever I set it up to display inside of Popdock. Now, this is another example of one of those custom lists. It's, again, a merge list combining live Business Central data with historical GP data. You'll notice the cool thing, though, is when we embed these widgets on different pages inside of Business Central, that we can make them context sensitive. So you'll notice that all of the records that are being returned in this list are tied to this specific customer number. So we could jump over to really any other customer card inside of Business Central. On the customer card, you'd still see this additional detail fast tab with a Popdock interface embedded in it, but the records that are being returned are going to be specific to whichever customer that I'm displaying it on. But then from there, this is really the same Popdock interface. So all that same functionality that I talked about in terms of an end user experience, in terms of being able to work with the data would apply here. I can still add columns. I can apply filters. I can move the fields around. We're just bringing that data to the different pages that you might be working on or working with inside of Business Central, and then also being able to make them context sensitive to that page. So we really see this commonly on customer cards, vendor cards, item cards. Really any page that displays a single entity is fair game for Popdock to embed these widgets on. Now I'm going to show you one other example just to kind of flip the script. Everything that I've shown you so far is bringing data and displaying it inside of Business Central. But what if you had Business Central data or potentially some Dynamics GP data that you maybe wanted to share with a team that didn't work out of Business Central? So I'm actually going to jump over to a CRM system, so Dynamics 365 Sales. And what you'll see here is I have this ERP Invoices tab. And what you're seeing inside is a Popdock widget. So this is that same Popdock interface. The only thing that's different is that instead of using a Business Central theme, which we would whenever we're embedding inside of Business Central, we're now have our interface in a CRM theme. So whenever we try to embed these widgets inside of an external solution, we try to use the theme of the solution if we have it available to make it look native to that application. But this is a really common example that we see people use Popdock with. You probably have a sales team that might work out of a CRM that would benefit from being able to see data coming from Business Central. Well, rather than having to move the data every single time, why not provide a view of that data and then allow users to query it right from the solution that they work in. So this example here is again showing Business Central data. It's showing me posted sales invoices that are tied to this specific account. So I show that just to really get you thinking. Popdock is a very powerful tool for being able to share data across your applications, in addition to giving you that smart list type experience for being able to query and ask questions of your data. So I'm going to jump back into the web application. Before I kind of get into the back end, I do like pointing out inside of the web application, we do have another interface for people to be able to query list of data. So for those of you that are on GP today, this potentially could be a way for you to access your smart list, but in the cloud. And use Popdock today while you're potentially evaluating that move to Business Central. Essentially, inside of here, it's the same interface, so all the same functionality would apply. We also see people that potentially don't work out of a primary application use the Popdock web application as an interface for them to be able to query data. So you can essentially add users in here, give them access to list of data that might pertain to their role, and they can use the web application to work with the data from inside of here. So just like pointing that out, that there is another interface that's built into our web application that allows you to query data as needed. But I'm going to quickly just jump into our connectors. And I just like showing this list. As I mentioned at the start, we have over 60 different connectors today. Obviously, we've talked about a Business Central connector, potentially a GP connector. You can see that we have other, that Nav, SL. We also potentially talked about an Azure Data Lake connector, which is right over here. And that's if you were migrating to Business Central and you wanted to essentially use a data lake as a repository for your historical data. You can see that we can connect to it. But I just like showing this because we can connect to a wide range of different solutions. And our goal with Popdock, again, is to really give you that smart list type experience for querying data for all the applications that you work with. I do like pointing out a couple of generic ones. SQL Server, really any solution that is SQL based is fair game for Popdock to be able to query data from. We do also have a REST connector, which is a generic REST connector, and it's really for any application that we don't have a pre-built connector for that has a REST API. So assuming it has a REST API, we would connect to it using this generic REST connector so that you could then query data from those solutions. So again, you can see a wide range of different applications that we have connectors set up for that allow you to really connect to all of the applications that you're using within your business. But I'm going to go into my Business Central connector here specifically. And just quickly go behind the scenes. So just like kind of the reporting interface really being designed for the end user, everything on the back end of Popdock is also designed to really be quite flexible and quite simple to work with. So you're really ever going to find fields that have some sort of cursor over them, or I guess drop-down menus where you can make choices. Now I mentioned at the start, all of our connectors will have a list section. In the case of Business Central, when you set this connector up initially, it comes pre-populated with 50 plus different lists that you get access to out of the box. Now you can go into any of our pre-built queries, and I guess you can further make changes to them if you have a need. So you can see if we'll use this customers list as my example. If I hit the pencil icon next to it, it brings me into kind of the back end of the list where I can go in, I can see all of the fields that are attached to this list. If I wanted to go in and adjust the name of how these fields were presented, or if I wanted to adjust field types or add dimensions, I could do that at the list level, as you can see here. We also give you the ability to add calculated fields. So if you need to take that a step further and generate new fields using formulas from any of the existing fields, you have the ability to do that. A couple other things that I just like pointing out: color coding. No, I don't show an example of what this looks like, but we can provide color coding rules on lists. So you can see that this specific example has a color coding rule applied to an entire row. We can also do it to a field, just to give you some additional life that you can add to your list of data. This is also where we would go to create details. So being able to show related information to other lists of data. A lot of our out-of-the-box queries have details that we've already set up that are connecting to other lists of data, but you can always go in and add additional ones. And where details get really powerful is you can actually tie together data that might be coming from entirely different applications, as long as we have some sort of link between the data sets. So details become just another powerful way of connecting data within your business. But what I really wanted to jump and show quickly is our query builder. One big thing, moving to the cloud that we heard, with our history of working with Smart List and Smart List Builder is it's harder to write queries. You no longer have that direct table access to the SQL tables to write queries. So we created the query builder to help with this. Now, if you're familiar with our tool, Smart List Builder for GP, you can really think of Query Builder as Smart List Builder for Business Central. What our Query Builder allows you to do is access the Business Central tables and write queries at the database level without having to know or write any AL code. So I'm just going to pick on one of these just to show you an example of one. So I click on the query builder here. You'll notice that our query builder is a visual builder, and you're essentially joining tables together, selecting what field you want to join them by, and then populating your query with fields from any of the tables that are represented in your query. And just to show you, we give you access to really every single table within your Business Central environment. So standard tables, any custom extensions that you might be using, ISV products, they're all fair game and available for you to access inside of here. But like I mentioned just a second ago, we're essentially taking two tables, selecting what field we are then joining them by. And then once they've been brought into the visual builder, each of these boxes represents a table that we've brought into this query. We can then click on any of these table names, and we can then see all the fields that are in that table. And just by checking a box, we can add or remove fields so that we are populating our query with the necessary fields that we want to see in it. When it comes to joining the tables together, if I click on this arrow, we give you access to all the different join types. So you can really customize this query and have a lot of control of being able to build out a query of your BC data. There's some further things you can do, some optimizations. You'll notice that some of these fields have a filter on it. If I click on that, you'll notice that I've applied like a restriction to this field. So I've restricted it to just show me, invoices, things of that nature. So it gives you the ability to really create an optimized query. But as you're using this visual builder to essentially build out your new query, on the back end, we're actually writing all the AL code for this extension. So you don't have to be familiar with writing queries in AL. You as an end user can come in, join tables together, using this visual builder. And then once you're done with it, if I jump back into the connector, we can actually then publish this query as an extension into our Business Central environment. And in doing so, it then creates a new list for us to use inside of Popdock. So the big thing with the query builder and really inside of Business Central is you're never stuck with, I guess, the default list that we give you access to. If you have a need for generating new custom queries of your BC data, the query builder is really there to help you with that. And then the last thing that I just wanted to point out is the custom list section of Popdock. Now, all of our connectors are going to have this custom list section. And this is where we can really take connecting data one step further. And what I mean by that is custom lists allow us to create new lists that from any list that we have access to inside of Popdock. So we can create custom lists that are potentially joining together data coming from two different solutions. So I showed you a couple of examples when I was in Business Central, two examples of merge lists. Merge lists are probably the most common custom list that we see in migration scenarios, in that people want to see a merged view of their historical data with ongoing data in their new system. So the example that I showed you was a merge list of sales line items coming from GP with a sales lines list from Business Central. But you can see we have a handful of different custom list types. Joins, merges, we can restrict data on a list. So again, you're never stuck with anything that we have predefined. We always give you the ability to generate new views of data as needed from any of the connectors that you have set up inside of Popdock. So those were kind of the main rocks that I wanted to cover here today. Hopefully you got to see kind of the end user experience of what Popdock would look like inside of Business Central, or if we were to embed that inside of another solution. And then kind of going into the back end of Popdock, you can kind of see that it's, again, designed to be really flexible and simple to work with, allowing you to connect to all different applications that you might be working with. And then really applying that to Business Central, we give you a lot of control of being able to generate new queries as needed when you make that move to the cloud. So with that, I know we have a couple minutes left here. I'm not sure if anything's coming to the question or the Q&A. I can take those questions now if there are any.
I double checked, Tyler. I don't think I saw any questions come up yet.
Okay.
But I was going to say, Tyler, as always, thank you so much, for today's presentation. I guess it'll probably segue into my last slide that I just want to share with everybody. And it's really just contact information for both myself here at Center Technologies as well as Steve Anderson, our solutions architect, and Cameron Hackstrom over at eOne. If you have any questions, comments, would like to learn more about the eOne Popdock solution, or if you would like to learn more about what Center Technologies has to offer for prospective clients and customers, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to be able to talk with you more and take it from there. Steve, I don't know if there was any other items to maybe cover.
Great presentation as always.
Agreed. Tyler, Cameron, Steve, really appreciate everybody's time today. For those that were able to join, really appreciate you all taking the time to listen to today's webinar presentation. Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.